Hi, and welcome to Zazi Zithande Zithembe. My name is Lusanda Mbane, your host. Last week we spoke about gender-based violence and femicide and all the horror stories that we've recently come to hear, specifically relating to violence against women, usually by people that they love. And this week we continue that theme, and it's no coincidence that we continue the theme because really we've been inundated with horror stories, and we want to talk about it. So this week I'm speaking to Tseho Monaisa, who is the author of this book called Three Sisters, which somehow touches on the issue of gender-based violence. Firstly, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lou. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so firstly you're an author, we already know that, but I also know that you do other things. I know you're a writer. And can you continue for me on the end?
Sure. So I worked at SABC as a community editor, and then I was at ETV as an executive producer. Then I left ETV to focus solely on writing. So I've written for numerous shows like Isibaya, Sidingo, Hope, Abu Mama, Ikaya. I've done a few sitcoms as well. And I'm also an author, like you said. I've written 3 books. This is my 3rd book, Three Sisters, and yeah.
So I'm still stuck on Abu Mama. I love that show.
Yes.
As you're talking, I was thinking of that thing. So
yes.
Very
strong. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. So you wrote this book called Three Sisters in 2015.
Yes.
What is it about?
So Three Sisters is about 3 women who don't know each other, and they're all from different walks of life. But the thing they have in common is that they're in relationships and they're being abused. So you've got Millicent. She's 45 years old. She's married. She's been married for about 25 years. And she's affluent, you know, and so the money begins to run out. Her husband feels emasculated, and as a result, he begins to beat up on his wife. Then there is Mpho. Mpho is a housewife. She's about 32 years old, and she has been getting abused because she didn't finish school. So the husband feels like he's in a position of power over her, and he uses, abuse to maintain that power, false sense of power. And then you have Lesego. She is 23 years old. She's from the rurals in the northwest. She comes to Johannesburg in her first job. She's excited, but her ex-boyfriend from back home is bitter and jealous that he's stuck there and she's in Joburg, and he finds her in her flat and rapes her.
So the common theme is really abuse.
Yes.
In 2015, Seppo, I mean, if I were writing any book, which by the way I'm no writer, but if I were writing, I would have thought 3 women from different walks of life don't know each other, and what they've got in common is that they are entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I mean, it was 2015. It was really not in our faces, the violence. What put your head in that space in 2015?
So for me, I wasn't really thinking about the theme per se. I was thinking about the women and who they are. And I mean, even though I haven't really been through abuse myself, I've been in relationships, and when in a relationship, there's so many personality clashes and arguments and conflict. And so I think it's just by grace that not everybody finds themselves in that situation, because I don't think there's a particular type of person who gets abused and one who doesn't. It's just a matter of grace, really, at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, you're in a relationship with somebody that you don't know. You're getting to know them. You don't know their temperament. You don't know what sets them off, and yours as well. Because, you only see what you react to and how you react to things once you're in there.
Yeah.
So I think it's just being in relationships and seeing those dynamics at play. It could lead anywhere, really. You never really know.
And in fact, we saw that in last week's episode, that sometimes it's even the strongest of women who go through it and don't want to be weak, per se, by coming out with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm now Prudence. I'm sitting somewhere in South Africa and I'm going through an abusive relationship. What can I hope to get from the stories of Millicent, Nosego, Mpho if I read the book Three Sisters?
So what normally happens with abuse is that it happens in isolation. Any force that is oppressive will isolate and keep things in secret. So I think, if you're going through abuse and you pick up the book and you read it, you realize that you're not the only person who has suffered abuse at the hands of their partners. So you'll start to feel some sort of comfort and realization that actually I'm not alone. And I think the sense of not being alone empowers you, so to speak to somebody, be it calling power, which is the people opposing women abuse, or speaking to a friend of yours, or speaking to a close family member, just somebody that you can trust as well. The trust is very important. And just tell them what's happening, so that you don't feel like you're going through it on your own. And I think that by speaking about it, it'll empower you to be able to get the help that you need.
Where can you find the book?
The book is available online. There is an online store called allafricanbooks.com. There's another one called myafricanbuy.com. So you can order online, they'll deliver to your door. If you're in Johannesburg, you can get the book from Bridge Books. You can get the book from Afro Culture, and you can get the book from Sanilo Mokhale.
And the cost?
180. Yeah. So I think it depends on the bookstore,
I see.
but it's about more than 200 rand.
Okay.
So yeah, around 180.
And maybe on a different topic now, Zippo, what does it take to become an author in South Africa? How difficult, how easy is it to get published and the journey that you've really walked?
It's interesting because my first two books, Poetry of Love and 3 Dates, were easier to publish because the publisher was looking for black female writers to write love stories in an urban setting. So they had a brief, and I responded to the brief. I was told about the brief by a friend of mine who I used to work with, and we both wrote books and we both got published. So it was easier then. This third book I self-published because it was hard, and I knocked on doors. It wasn't, it's not an easy topic, and it's not very commercial, So because publishers are businesses, they're looking for that bottom line.
Yes.
So that commercial appeal is very strong. So I went the self-publishing route on this book, which is a very popular route as well. I'm very much in favor of it. But I do feel that people, literacy is on the rise. And there's a rise of black authors as well in the country.
Yes.
So because we're reading each other's work, when we support each other and read each other's work, there's the doors keep opening, and the big publishing companies will begin to invest more in us because we're reading the books, and by so doing, the books are getting out there. When you look at the exclusive books top seller, it's mostly, for the most part, South African authors, which is something to be very, very proud of because we were not in this space a few years ago. It's something that has just taken off in the past couple of years, and I think it's only going to get better.
The discipline, though, that goes into writing and finishing a book. I'm sure writing is one thing, but finishing it. Like, what does it take to finish a book, especially for someone like you who does so many other things on the side?
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, I just love writing. At the end of the day, it's my happy space. So I live vicariously through my characters, and they're very interesting and for me, it's always been interesting to explore different types of people, characters, personalities, worlds through fiction, so I love writing. And obviously, for me, it's given me focus and discipline in my own personal development. So I'm able to do all the other stuff that you spoke about. I can manage my time, I can work as a freelance writer and write the books and produce and direct and everything else because it really works on giving you that focus, like you said, to not just start but to finish as well.
Words of wisdom, pearls of wisdom for aspiring writers, aspiring directors, producers.
Yeah, I would say keep doing it. If you're a writer, write. And for me, it's easier that I produce and direct my own work. So I would write the books, which then became web series. But if you're a director, do short skits. Direct your friends and just get your camera phone. You can do it on your phone. If you're a producer, go and find the money to do it if you need the money, or find the cast, your friends, or find the locations, because that's what the producer would do. And if you're the writer, then just give your friends the material and then they can go shoot it. So I think for me the key thing is don't stop doing it. There will be setbacks. There are so many limitations already, economically, geographically, and I think the key thing is to not allow anybody's discouragements to get to you. I was fired from my first Soapy writing gig.
Why? Why were you fired? I want to know. You're not going to burst through that, right?
I was fired in 2016.
From where?
From Isibaya. I think for me, it wasn't the right fit. It was just it's steeped in Zulu, traditions and Zulu patriarchy.
Yeah.
And here I am, a Tswana woman.
What were you doing then the first
I needed to get my bills.
Well, it didn't work, but now you're fired.
Right? So for those couple of months it was nice, but then ultimately I realized that, and they realized as well, that it's not working. And that's the thing with writing. It's not something that you manufacture. It's born from inside of you. it's your creativity, and so it's got to be authentic, it's got to be real. There's got to be some sort of connectivity, you know, and connection to the story you're telling. But yeah, I haven't been fired since. I've been on a very good track record. And yeah, I think that's it. Like, don't let setbacks hold you back, and don't believe that when people don't see how good you are, don't believe that. You know, keep writing, don't write for people, write for yourself. Because also when my first book came out, Poetry of Love, I wrote that book in 3 months. This book took me 5 years. 3 dates took me 3 years, because the hype, people would say congratulations, I thought I was great, I'm like, oh my gosh, all these, you know, adulations and praise, but then it blocks your creativity.
I see.
You see the pressure.
That's what it's like.
Exactly, and the pressure of, oh my goodness, people like that book, now I must, you know. So you need to just clear your mind of all of anything, whether it's good or bad, or that praise, you know, just center yourself. And really, it's mostly about the characters. It's not about you. It's about the characters, being real to them, being authentic to them. And you can't do that if you're infringing on who they are by bringing yourself to them, you know. Let them tell their story. You're just a vessel, ultimately.
Wow. Thank you very much for sharing.
It's
Thank
my
you very
pleasure.
much for opening up, and thank you very much for the material. You know, I encourage a whole lot of women to read this, especially if you're going through anything about abuse. So if someone close to you is going through something, this might be a good place to start, just to realize that you're not alone. So don't let setbacks hold you back, says Tshepo. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for your wisdom, thank you for your knowledge, thank you for everything. So yeah, that's today's episode, this week's episode. Until next week, it's a wrap from us.